Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Like you're standing right there, screaming for attention, but no one sees you. No one hears you. I spent 23 years watching my family throw elaborate birthday parties for my brother. Sculptures, live bands, guest lists that read like a who's who of our town. Meanwhile, my birthdays. They were met with, "Oh, was that this week?" and a grocery store cupcake if I was lucky. But this year I made sure they would never forget my birthday again. What I did changed everything. It shattered our family dynamics, exposed secrets that had been buried for decades, and forced everyone to face a truth they'd been running from my entire life. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and this is the story of how I took back my worth. But before we dive into this wild journey, if you love stories about standing up for yourself, family drama, and sweet, sweet justice, hit that subscribe button for Revenge Hub. We share real stories from real people who finally said, "Enough is enough." Trust me, you'll want to see where this goes. Now let's get back to how I planned the most unforgettable birthday of my life. It started when I was 7 years old. My brother Marcus is 3 years older than me, and from the moment I was born he was the golden child. The firstborn. A son. The one who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. I remember my 7th birthday like it was yesterday. I woke up that morning with butterflies in my stomach, excited because Mom had promised we'd go to the zoo. I'd been talking about it for weeks. I had my little zoo guidebook ready, and I'd circled all the animals I wanted to see. But when I came downstairs, Mom was on the phone, her voice tight with stress. "Sarah, honey, we need to reschedule your zoo trip," she said, covering the receiver. "Marcus has a soccer tournament today that we forgot about. It's really important." "But it's my birthday," I whispered. "I know, sweetie, and we'll celebrate next weekend, I promise. Marcus's team is counting on him being there. You understand, right?" I nodded, even though I didn't understand. Even though my 7-year-old heart was breaking. We never went to that zoo. The next weekend came and there was always something else. Marcus had homework. Dad had to work. Mom wasn't feeling well. Eventually everyone just forgot. My 8th birthday. Mom threw Marcus a surprise party for getting straight A's on his report card. The party was 3 days before my birthday. When my actual birthday came, they were so exhausted from party planning that we just ordered pizza. My 9th birthday fell on the same weekend as Marcus's championship baseball game. I spent my birthday sitting on cold metal bleachers, watching my brother be celebrated while I held a sad little birthday balloon my grandmother had brought. Year after year, the pattern continued. When I turned 13, supposedly a big milestone, Marcus got his braces off the same week. Mom and Dad threw him a freedom from braces party, complete with a candy bar buffet and all his friends. My 13th birthday. We went to dinner at the same restaurant we went to every Sunday. They sang happy birthday. That was it. My sweet 16. Marcus got his driver's license. Dad bought him a used car. They spent the entire day at the DMV and car shopping. By the time they got home, it was almost 10 p.m. Mom brought me a cupcake from the grocery store and said, "We'll do something special next weekend, baby." I promise. We never did. My high school graduation fell the week after Marcus's college graduation. You can guess which one got the big party, the proud Facebook posts, the family flying in from out of state. For mine, my grandmother took me to lunch. Just the two of us. She was the only one who always remembered. Grandma Rose would slip me cards with money, take me shopping, make my favorite cookies. She'd look at me with sad eyes and say, "I'm sorry, Sarah. I don't know what's wrong with them. Tell her it was okay." I was used to it. But even as the words left my mouth, something inside me was hardening. A little more each year. When I turned 21, Marcus got engaged. His engagement party was the weekend of my birthday. I spent my 21st birthday watching Marcus and his fiancée, Jennifer, open gifts and kiss for photographs while everyone cooed over their love story. I got drunk alone in my apartment that night. Grandma Rose called me at midnight, singing happy birthday through the phone. I cried so hard I couldn't even sing along. Why don't they love me? I asked her through sobs. What did I do wrong? Oh, sweetheart, she said, her voice breaking. You didn't do anything wrong. Not one single thing. The problem isn't you. It's them. And one day, they're going to realize what they lost. But I wasn't sure I believed her. After all, if I wasn't the problem, then why had they been treating me like I didn't matter for my entire life? Last year, my 22nd birthday, was supposed to be different. Mom had actually called me 2 weeks before. Sarah, honey, I know we haven't done a good job celebrating your birthdays over the years, she admitted. But this year I want to make it special. Just you and me. Spa day. What do you think? I'd felt something I hadn't felt in years, hope. Really? Yes. Really. You deserve it. You've always been so understanding about Marcus's activities, and I want to make it up to you. I spent those 2 weeks floating on air. I told my friends. Planned my outfit. I even looked up spa reviews. The day before my birthday, Mom called again. Sarah, I have terrible news. Jennifer's mother is in the hospital. Marcus and Jennifer need me to watch their dog while they drive down to see her. I'm so sorry, but we'll have to reschedule the spa day. The hope that had been building crashed so hard I felt physically sick. Mom, it's my birthday tomorrow, I said quietly. I know, honey, but this is a family emergency. Jennifer's family is our family too now. You understand? You're always so good about understanding. I wasn't understanding. I was tired. I was hurt. I was done. But I said, okay, Mom. I understand. I spent my 22nd birthday alone, eating takeout Chinese food and watching Netflix. The only message I got from my parents was a text at 11:47 p.m. from Mom. Happy birthday, sweetie. Sorry about today. Love you. That night something crystallized inside me. I was done being understanding. Done being flexible. Done being invisible. I decided that my 23rd birthday would be different. Not just different. Unforgettable. The plan started to form 3 months before my birthday. I was at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. One of those obligatory family gatherings where I showed up, sat quietly, listened to everyone talk about Marcus's life, and then left without anyone really noticing I'd been there. I excused myself to use the bathroom, but I got sidetracked in the hallway when I saw that the door to Dad's study was open. He was usually obsessive about keeping it locked. He had important documents in there that he didn't want disturbed. Curiosity got the better of me. I slipped inside. The room smelled like old leather and his cologne, a scent that used to comfort me as a child but now just reminded me of all the times he chose something else over me. I ran my fingers along the spines of his law books. Dad's an attorney. And that's when I saw it. Photo album on his desk. It was open and I could see pictures from Marcus's recent birthday party. His 30th had been a massive affair. A rented yacht. Live DJ. Over 100 guests. I hadn't even known about it until I saw the photos on Facebook 2 days after it happened. I was about to close the album and leave when something made me pause. Under the album was a manila folder. Something about it felt significant. Opened it. Inside were documents. Financial documents. And as I started reading, my blood ran cold. There was a trust fund. A massive trust fund set up by my grandfather before he died. I vaguely remembered him. He passed when I was 6. But what I didn't know was that he'd left money for his grandchildren. For both of us. Marcus and me. According to the documents, Grandpa Mitchell had left $100,000 for each grandchild, to be accessed when we turned 25. The money was meant to help us start our lives, buy a house, start a business, or pay off student loans. Marcus had received his when he turned 25 2 years ago. But here's the thing that made my hands shake as I held those papers. My fund showed regular withdrawals. Large ones. Starting when I was 18. Someone had been taking money from my trust. My money. And based on the signatures on the withdrawal forms, that someone was my father. I took photos of every page with my phone, my heart pounding so loud I was sure someone would hear it and come investigate. I carefully put everything back exactly as I'd found it and slipped out of the study. Dinner was torture. I sat there, pushing food around my plate, watching my father laugh at Marcus's jokes, watching my mother beam at her golden son. They had no idea I knew. No idea that I'd discovered they'd been stealing from me for 5 years. When I got home, I looked at those photos again and again. I zoomed in on every detail. The withdrawals totaled nearly $75,000. My trust fund, which should have been $100,000, was down to $25,000. But where had the money gone? I spent the next week doing detective work. I cross-referenced the withdrawal dates with family events, looking for patterns. And slowly, sickeningly, the truth emerged. Marcus's wedding 2 years ago, the elaborate destination wedding in Cabo San Lucas that I could barely afford to attend, had happened right after a $30,000 withdrawal. The down payment on Marcus and Jennifer's house, right after a $20,000 withdrawal. Marcus's graduation gift of that used car. $15,000 withdrawal. Even some of Marcus's birthday parties over the years lined up with withdrawals from my trust. They'd been funding Marcus's life with my inheritance. My parents had stolen my future to give my brother an easier present. I sat in my tiny apartment, the apartment I could barely afford because I was drowning in student loans, loans I wouldn't have if I'd had access to my trust fund, and I cried. Not sad tears. Angry tears. But then the anger crystallized into something else. Determination. Called Grandma Rose. Grandma, did you know about Grandpa Mitchell's trust funds for us? There was a long pause. Oh, Sarah. You found out. You knew. You knew they were stealing from me. I found out last year, she admitted, her voice heavy. I confronted your father about it. We had a terrible fight. He said he'd borrowed from it and would pay it back. He said Marcus needed help and that you'd understand because you always understand. I'm done understanding, I said. Good, Grandma Rose said firmly. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But they're going to pay for this. All of it. Every forgotten birthday. Every time they made me feel like I didn't matter. Every dollar they stole from me. Whatever you need, sweetheart, I'm here. That conversation with Grandma Rose changed everything. Because now I knew I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I had been wronged systematically for my entire life. And I was going to make it right. Over the next few weeks, I consulted with a lawyer. Not my father, obviously. I learned that what my parents did was potentially illegal. The trust was ironclad. The money was mine. And they'd violated the terms of the trust by withdrawing it without my permission. Could sue them. I could report them. I could blow up their lives the way they'd dismissed mine. But I wanted something more personal. More poetic. I wanted them to feel what I'd felt. To be forgotten. To be pushed aside. To watch someone else get celebrated while they were ignored. And I knew exactly how to do it. My birthday was 3 months away. 3 months to plan something spectacular. Something that would force them to confront what they'd done. I was going to throw myself the biggest, most elaborate birthday party anyone in our town had ever seen. And I was going to make sure my family couldn't ignore it, couldn't miss it, couldn't forget it. But more than that, I was going to make sure they knew exactly why I was doing it. The planning began. I started by opening a credit card. I know, not usually the best financial move. But I needed capital, and I was willing to bet on myself. Besides, I had $25,000 coming to me when I turned 25 in 2 years. I could pay it off then. That's what I told myself anyway. In reality, I was so angry I probably would have done this even if it meant going into debt forever. Step 1: the venue. I wanted something that screamed elegance and money. I rented out the ballroom at the Grandview Estate, the fanciest venue in town. The same venue where Marcus and Jennifer got married. Cost $8,000. Step 2: invitations. I hired a designer to create gorgeous, custom invitations. Heavy cardstock, gold foil, embossed lettering. Each one was a work of art. I sent them to everyone. Family, friends, old classmates, my parents' friends, their neighbors, people from Dad's law firm, Mom's book club. I even sent them to Marcus and Jennifer's friends. The invitations read, "Sarah Mitchell requests the honor of your presence at a celebration of her 23rd birthday. Join us for an evening of revelations, remembrances, and reckoning." That last word, reckoning, was subtle enough that most people wouldn't think twice. But it was there. Promise. Step 3: entertainment. I hired a live band, a DJ for after, and a professional photographer. I wanted every moment documented. Step 4: food. I booked the best catering company in the area. Past appetizers. A multi-course dinner. An open bar. A massive custom cake that was so elaborate it needed its own table. Step 5: decorations. I went all out. Floral arrangements everywhere. Uplighting. Balloon installation. Personalized banners. And most importantly, a video screen and projector system. That video screen was key to my plan. As I was planning all this, I had to keep it secret from my family. When Mom called for our weekly obligatory check-in, I pretended everything was normal. "Any birthday plans this year?" she asked casually. "Oh, probably just dinner with some friends," I lied. "Nothing special." "That's nice, honey. Simple is good sometimes." "Simple. But..." She thought I wanted simple while she'd arranged carnival performers for Marcus's 13th birthday. The most satisfying part of planning was working with Grandma Rose. She became my co-conspirator, helping me compile photos and videos for the big reveal I had planned. We spent hours going through old family albums, digital files, Facebook posts. We created a timeline of every forgotten birthday, every missed milestone, every time Marcus got celebrated while I got ignored. 7-year-old me looking sad at Marcus's surprise party while everyone had forgotten my zoo trip. 13-year-old me holding that single balloon at Marcus's baseball championship on my birthday. 16-year-old me in the background of photos from Marcus's driver's license celebration, looking like a ghost. 21-year-old me at Marcus's engagement party, forced smile plastered on my face. We also included photos of Marcus's celebrations over the years. The yacht party, the destination wedding, the elaborate gifts, and then the piece de resistance. Scans of the trust fund documents showing the withdrawals, with dates and amounts highlighted. I corroborated everything with my lawyer. It was all accurate, all documented, all provable. Grandma Rose and I compiled it all into a 15-minute video presentation. It was devastating. By the time we finished, we were both in tears. "They're never going to forgive you for this," Grandma Rose said, squeezing my hand. "I don't care about their forgiveness," I replied. I want their awareness. I want them to see what they did. And I want them to feel even a fraction of what I've felt my whole life. Then let's make sure they can't look away, she said with a smile. As my birthday approached, RSVPs started coming in. Nearly everyone was coming. People were excited. Sarah Mitchell was finally throwing herself a party, and it was going to be spectacular. My parents RSVP'd yes, sounding confused but pleased. I'm so glad you're celebrating yourself this year, honey, Mom said on the phone. We'll definitely be there. Marcus and Jennifer RSVP'd yes. Wouldn't miss it, sis, Marcus texted. About time you did something for yourself. About time. As if he hadn't been the reason I'd never been able to do something for myself before. The week before the party, I withdrew the remaining $25,000 from my trust fund. I used it to pay off my credit card bill and put the rest toward my student loans. It felt good to finally access my own money, even if it was a fraction of what should have been there. I also did one more thing. I wrote a speech. I rewrote it probably 50 times trying to get the tone right. Hurt but not whiny. Angry but not unhinged. Powerful but not preachy. Grandma Rose helped me rehearse. By the end I had it memorized. Every word. Every pause. Every moment where I'd look directly at my parents and let them see my pain. The night before the party I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, alternating between excitement and terror. What if people thought I was being overdramatic? What if my parents walked out? What if this backfired and I ended up looking like the villain? But then I remembered that grocery store cupcake. That balloon at the bleachers. That cancelled spa day. That stolen $75,000. Well, I wasn't the villain. I was someone who had been treated terribly for 23 years. And I was finally standing up for myself. The venue was ready. The video was loaded. The speech was memorized. Tomorrow everyone would remember my birthday. Whether they wanted to or not. Music transition. Anticipatory, building tension. Are you hooked yet? 'Cause trust me, you haven't seen anything. What happens at this party will blow your mind. If you're loving this story and want more tales of people standing up to toxic family members, hit that subscribe button for Revenge Hub. We've got hundreds of stories of people who took back their power. You don't want to miss what happens next. Now let's get to the party. The day of my 23rd birthday started with Grandma Rose showing up at my apartment at 8 a.m. with coffee and donuts. Happy birthday, my darling girl, she said, pulling me into a hug. Today you shine. We spent the morning getting me ready. I'd bought a dress specifically for this occasion. A stunning emerald green gown that made me feel like royalty. My hair was professionally styled. My makeup was flawless. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked confident, powerful, beautiful. I looked like someone who mattered. Your grandfather would be so proud of you, Grandma Rose said, tearing up. He'd be proud that you're standing up for yourself. We arrived at the venue at 3 p.m. The party didn't start until 7, but I wanted to oversee every detail. The event planner I'd hired was incredible. The ballroom looked like something out of a fairy tale. White and gold everywhere. Flowers cascading from the ceiling. That massive video screen positioned perfectly so everyone would have to see it. As the clock ticked towards 7, my nerves really kicked in. My hands were shaking. I kept running to the bathroom. What if no one comes? I asked Grandma Rose. They'll come, she assured me. Trust me. She was right. At 6:45, guests started arriving. Friends from college. Old classmates. My coworker Sarah, who I'd become close with. My neighbor Mrs. Patterson. They gasped when they saw the venue, complimenting everything. Sarah, this is incredible, my friend Melissa gushed. This must have cost a fortune. I decided I deserved it, I said with a smile that felt more genuine than any smile I'd worn at a family event. 7:15 my parents arrived. Mom was wearing a cocktail dress and pearls. Dad was in a suit. They looked confused by the elegance of everything, like they couldn't quite reconcile the daughter they'd ignored with this elaborate celebration. "Sarah, honey, this is... wow," Mom said, looking around. "This is quite something." "Thank you for coming," I said formally. "Of course we came," Dad said, though he looked uncomfortable. "You're our daughter." Or daughter. The phrase almost made me laugh. I'd been their daughter at every birthday they'd forgotten too, but that hadn't mattered then. At 7:30 Marcus and Jennifer arrived. Marcus was wearing a suit that I recognized. I'd seen the charge on one of the trust fund withdrawal statements. My money had probably paid for the suit he was wearing to my birthday party. The irony was almost too much. "Hey sis. This place is amazing," Marcus said, giving me a quick hug. "You really went all out." "I learned from the best," I said, and he completely missed the edge in my voice. Jennifer kissed my cheek. "Happy birthday, Sarah. We're so happy you're finally celebrating yourself." Finally. That word again. By 8 p.m. the ballroom was full. Over 150 people had shown up. The energy was festive. People were drinking, eating the past appetizers, mingling. The band was playing soft jazz. Everything was perfect. My parents kept looking around with this bewildered expression. I could tell they were trying to calculate how much this was costing, wondering where I'd gotten the money. Dad especially looked concerned. Probably worried that I'd somehow accessed my trust fund without him knowing. He was right to be worried. At 8:30 dinner was served. Everyone sat at their assigned tables. Yes, I'd done a seating chart just like a wedding. I'd strategically placed my parents at a table right in front of the video screen. Marcus and Jennifer were at the same table. Grandma Rose was sitting with me at the head table, along with my closest friends. The meal was exquisite. 4 courses. Wine pairings. People were raving about the food, about the venue, about everything. Barely ate. My stomach was in knots. After dessert, which came before the birthday cake because I had plans for that moment, the lights dimmed slightly. This was it. The moment I'd been planning for 3 months. I stood up, and the room gradually quieted. Someone clinked a glass, and then everyone was looking at me, expectant and smiling. My parents were beaming. They probably thought I was about to give a sweet thank you speech. They had no idea. "Good evening, everyone," I began, my voice surprisingly steady. "Thank you all so much for being here tonight. When I was planning this party, I had a lot of people ask me why I was going so big for 23. It's not exactly a milestone birthday, right?" Polite laughter rippled through the room. "But the truth is, every birthday is a milestone. Every year we survive, every year we grow, every year we become more ourselves. That's worth celebrating." And I realized that I've spent 23 years waiting for other people to celebrate me. Waiting for my birthday to matter to anyone besides me and my grandmother. I looked at Grandma Rose, who nodded encouragingly. So this year I decided to celebrate myself. To show myself that I matter. That my life is worth marking. That I deserve acknowledgement. People were nodding, smiling. They thought this was an empowerment speech. And it was. But it was about to become much more. But before we get to the cake, I want to share something with all of you. I've put together a little video presentation. A trip down memory lane, if you will. Some highlights from birthdays past. I nodded to the AV tech, and the video started playing on the screen. It began sweetly enough, baby pictures of me. Toddler Sarah blowing out candles. Little girl Sarah opening presents. People were awing. But then the tone shifted. The video showed that 7th birthday. The title card read, Sarah's 7th birthday, cancelled for Marcus's soccer game. Then my 8th. Sarah's 8th birthday, overshadowed by Marcus's straight-A celebration. On and on it went. Every birthday. Every disappointment. Photos of me looking sad and forgotten while Marcus got celebrated in the background. Photos of elaborate parties for Marcus with dates showing they were on or around my birthday. The room had gone completely silent. My parents' faces had drained of color. The video continued. 23 years of neglect, documented in photos and captions. It was devastating. I could hear people gasping. Some were murmuring to each other. Then came the final section. The trust fund documents appeared on screen. And now, my voice from the video said, the part where my parents stole $75,000 from my inheritance to fund my brother's life. The withdrawals showed up one by one with dates. Next to each withdrawal was a photo of what it had funded. Marcus's wedding. His house. His car. His parties. My money. Funding his dreams while I drowned in student loan debt. The video ended with a simple message. Today I celebrate myself. Because no one else ever did. The lights came back up. You could have heard a pin drop. Every eye in the room was on my parents. Mom's face was red, tears streaming down her cheeks. Dad looked like he'd seen a ghost. Marcus and Jennifer were frozen, their faces masks of shock. I let the silence hang for a long moment. Let everyone absorb what they'd just seen. Let my parents feel the weight of 150 pairs of eyes judging them. Then I continued my speech. I want to be clear about something, I said, my voice calm but firm. I'm not sharing this to humiliate my family, though I understand that's exactly what I've just done. I'm sharing this because silence protects the people who hurt us. Silence lets abuse continue. And yes, what happened to me was abuse. Maybe not the kind that leaves physical scars, but the kind that makes you question your worth every single day of your life. My mother made a small sound, almost like a whimper. For 23 years, I told myself that I was being selfless, understanding, flexible, that I was being a good daughter and sister by not making a fuss when my birthdays were forgotten or my milestones were ignored. But you know what I've realized? I wasn't being selfless. I was being erased. And I let it happen because I was desperate for whatever scraps of love and attention I could get. I looked directly at my parents now. Mom, I needed you to see me. Really see me. Not just acknowledge my existence, but treat me like I mattered as much as Marcus. And you never did. Even when Grandpa left me that trust fund, money that was supposed to help me build my future, you took it. You stole from me to give to him. Dad stood up abruptly. Sarah, this is not the time or place. Sit down, Dad, I said sharply. You don't get to tell me what's appropriate anymore. You don't get to sweep this under the rug like you've swept me under the rug my whole life. For once, you're going to listen to me. He sat down looking stunned. I don't think I'd ever spoken to him like that before. I went to a lawyer, I continued. What you did was illegal. Could sue you. I could press charges. I could destroy you financially and professionally. And believe me, I've thought about it. I've fantasized about it. Mom was openly sobbing now. People at nearby tables were handing her napkins. But here's what I realized. I don't want revenge. Not really. What I want is acknowledgement. I want you to admit what you did. I want Marcus to understand that his golden life was built on stealing from his sister. I want everyone in this room, everyone in your social circle, to know the truth. Because that's the only way anything changes. I turn to address the whole room now. To everyone here who isn't my immediate family. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being witnesses. Thank you for finally seeing me. This party might seem extravagant, but it's actually quite modest compared to what my brother has gotten over the years. The difference is I paid for this myself. With my own money. Money that was rightfully mine. I picked up my champagne glass. So let's toast. To being seen. To taking up space. To refusing to be erased. And to finally celebrating Sarah Mitchell. There was a moment of uncertain silence. Then Grandma Rose stood up, raising her glass. To Sarah, she said loudly. The strongest person I know. To Sarah, my friends echoed. Slowly, people around the room stood and raised their glasses. To Sarah. My parents stayed seated. Marcus and Jennifer stayed seated. But everyone else was standing, toasting me, some of them with tears in their eyes. The moment broke, and people started approaching me. So many hugs. So many people telling me I was brave. People I barely knew sharing their own stories of being overlooked in their families. My friend Melissa hugged me tight and whispered, I had no idea it was this bad. I'm so sorry. Mrs. Patterson, my elderly neighbor, squeezed my hand. You did the right thing, honey. Some things need to be said publicly. But the people I most wanted to hear from stayed frozen at their table. After about 30 minutes of receiving well wishes, I saw Dad stand up and motion for me to follow him to a quiet corner of the ballroom. Mom and Marcus joined us. Jennifer stayed at the table, looking uncomfortable. Sarah, Dad said, his voice tight, do you have any idea what you've just done? I've told the truth, I said simply. You've humiliated us in front of our entire community. Mom hissed, her tears replaced by anger. How could you do this? How could I? I laughed, a bitter sound. How could you forget my birthday for 23 years? How could you steal $75,000 from me? How could you treat me like I didn't matter my entire life? We never forgot your birthday, Mom protested weakly. You forgot it last year. And the year before. You've forgotten it almost every year. Or you remembered at the last minute and bought a grocery store cupcake. Or you remembered but something related to Marcus was more important. Marcus finally spoke up. Sarah, I didn't know. I didn't know they were using your money. Didn't you? Challenged. You never wondered why Mom and Dad were so generous with you. You never questioned where the money for your elaborate wedding came from. Or the down payment on your house. He looked away, guilty. You knew, I said quietly. Maybe not the specifics, but you knew you were the favorite. You knew I was being pushed aside. And you let it happen because it benefited you. That's not fair, he protested. What's not fair is that I have $60,000 in student loan debt because my college fund went to your wedding. What's not fair is that I've lived in a cramped apartment for 5 years while you bought a house with my inheritance. What's not fair is that I spent my entire childhood feeling invisible. Dad cleared his throat. The money from the trust was borrowed, not stolen. I was planning to pay it back. With what? I interrupted. It's been 5 years, Dad. You've paid back exactly $0. And even if you had been planning to pay it back, you never asked me. You never told me. You just took it like my money, like I didn't matter. You're our daughter. We were going to take care of you, Dad said, but his voice lacked conviction. You were supposed to take care of me all along, I said. That's what parents do. They don't pick favorites. They don't steal from one child to give to another. They don't forget birthdays. They don't make one child feel worthless. The silence stretched between us. I want my money back, I said finally. All $75,000 plus interest. You have 6 months to pay me, or I'm filing a lawsuit. My lawyer has all the documentation ready to go. Sarah, we don't have that kind of money just lying around, Mom said desperately. Then take out a loan. Sell something. Figure it out. The same way I've had to figure out how to survive on my own while you poured resources into Marcus's life. I looked at Marcus. And you? You need to decide if you're okay with how you got everything you have. Because I'm done pretending any of this is normal. Marcus opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again. Sorry, Sarah. I really didn't know about the trust fund. I thought Mom and Dad were just helping me out. Even if you didn't know about the trust fund, you knew about the birthdays. You were there, Marcus. You saw it happening. He looked down. I thought you didn't care about that stuff. I cared, I said, my voice breaking for the first time. I always cared. I just got really good at pretending I didn't because it was easier than admitting that my own family didn't think I was worth celebrating. Mom reached for me. Sarah, honey. I stepped back. No, you don't get to comfort me now. You don't get to play the loving mother after 23 years of showing me I wasn't a priority. I need you to sit with this. I need you to really understand what you did. We love you, Mom said desperately. Maybe you do, I said. But you never showed it. And love without action is just words. I'm done with words. I walked away from them, back toward the party. Back toward the people who had chosen to show up for me tonight. The rest of the evening was surreal. The band kept playing. People kept dancing. The cake was brought out. A towering 3-tier masterpiece with sparklers on top. Everyone sang happy birthday. I blew out the candles and made a wish. I wished for peace. For healing. For the strength to keep standing up for myself. My parents left early, slipping out around 10 p.m. without saying goodbye. Marcus and Jennifer stayed a bit longer, though Marcus looked shell-shocked. Before they left, Marcus approached me one more time. I really am sorry, he said. I want to make this right. Then help them pay me back, I said. If they really used my money for your wedding and your house, then you benefited from it. Help make me whole. He nodded slowly. Okay, I will. I promise. I didn't know if I believed him, but at least he'd acknowledged it. The party went until 2 a.m. People kept coming up to me, sharing their own stories of family dysfunction, of being overlooked, of finally standing up for themselves. I realized I wasn't alone. So many people had been through similar things. When the last guest left, it was just me and Grandma Rose and the cleanup crew. How do you feel? She asked. Terrified, I admitted. And free. And sad. And powerful. All at once. That sounds about right, she said with a gentle smile. Did I do the right thing? I asked her. She took my hands. You did the brave thing. And sometimes that's the same as the right thing and sometimes it's not. But you told your truth. You stood up for yourself. You refused to be invisible anymore. That takes courage. I think I just blew up my family. Sweetie, your family was already broken. You just finally said it out loud. The next few weeks were brutal. The story spread through our town like wildfire. I'd expected that. You can't expose your family in front of 150 people and expect it to stay quiet. But I hadn't anticipated just how divided people would be. Some people thought I was a hero. I got messages from people I hadn't talked to in years, thanking me for speaking up, sharing their own stories of family favoritism and neglect. But others thought I was a monster. I was called vindictive, attention-seeking, dramatic. People said I'd humiliated my parents for no reason. That I should have handled it privately. That family business should stay private. My mother's friends from book club stopped speaking to her. Dad's partners at the law firm were asking questions about his ethics. Marcus and Jennifer's social circle was gossiping about whether their house and wedding were built on stolen money. I felt guilty about the collateral damage. I really did. But every time I started to second-guess myself, I'd remember that grocery store cupcake, that canceled zoo trip, that stolen $75,000. My parents didn't contact me for 2 weeks. Complete radio silence. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, my mom called. "We need to talk," she said. Her voice sounded tired, defeated. "Okay," I said carefully. "Can you come to the house on Saturday? Your father and I. We've been talking. We'd like to discuss things. All of us. You, me, your dad, and Marcus. Family meeting." Part of me wanted to refuse. But another part of me, the part that still, despite everything, wanted my family to love me, agreed. That Saturday, I drove to my childhood home with Grandma Rose beside me. I'd asked her to come for moral support, and she'd agreed immediately. "I'm not letting you face them alone," she'd said firmly. When we arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Mom had made coffee and put out cookies, her usual hosting routine, but nobody was touching them. We all sat in the living room, the same living room where we'd had countless Christmas mornings and family game nights, where I'd felt invisible so many times. Dad spoke first. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 2 weeks. "Sarah, your mother and I have been doing a lot of thinking and talking. About what you said at your party. About how we've treated you over the years." I waited, not giving him anything. "We didn't see it," Mom said, her eyes red-rimmed. "I know that sounds impossible. I know it sounds like we're making excuses. But we genuinely didn't realize how much we were neglecting you." "How could you not realize?" Yes. "How could you not notice that you threw Marcus elaborate parties and gave me cupcakes? How could you not notice that you forgot my birthday multiple times? Marcus was always so demanding," Mom said. "He needed so much attention. His sports, his activities, his friends. And you were always so easy. So independent. You never complained. You always said you understood. Because I was desperate for you to love me," I said, my voice breaking. "I thought if I was easy, if I didn't make a fuss, if I was the good daughter, you'd finally see me. But instead, you just forgot about me even more." Marcus spoke up. "I didn't help. I see that now. I took all the attention and never thought about what it was doing to you. And the trust fund?" Asked, looking at my parents. Dad sighed heavily. "That was wrong. We were wrong. I convinced myself it was borrowing, that I'd pay you back. But the truth is, we were living beyond our means. Marcus's wedding was so expensive, and we wanted to give him the perfect start. The house down payment was a stretch. We kept dipping into your fund thinking we'd replace it, but we never did. You stole from me," I said flatly. "Call it what it is. We stole from you," Dad admitted, and I could see it cost him something to say it. "And we're deeply, deeply sorry." "Sorry doesn't give me back the last 23 years, I said. "Sorry doesn't erase the damage." "We know," Mom said. "But we want to try to make it right. We've taken out a home equity loan. We can pay back the $75,000. It'll take us about 3 years to pay off the loan, but we can give you the money now." I was stunned. I honestly hadn't expected them to actually do it. "And," Marcus added, "Jennifer and I are contributing $20,000. I know that doesn't cover everything my wedding and house down payment took from you, but it's what we can afford right now." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to reject it, to stay angry. But another part of me, the exhausted part, just wanted this to be over. "What about the birthdays?" I asked quietly. "What about all the times you made me feel like I didn't matter?" "We can't change the past," Dad said. "But we want to change the future. We want to do better. If you'll let us. I don't know if I can trust you, I said honestly. I don't know if I can let you back in and risk being hurt again. We understand, Mom said. And we don't expect you to forgive us right away. Or maybe ever. But we want to try. We want to be better parents to you. Grandma Rose, who had been quiet this whole time, spoke up. Actions, not words. That's what matters now. Sarah has heard enough empty promises. If you want her back in your life, you need to show her, consistently over time, that she matters to you. We will, Dad promised. Starting now. The meeting ended with a plan. They would transfer the money to my account within the week. We would start family therapy, all of us together. And they would give me space to decide what level of relationship I wanted with them moving forward. It wasn't a happy ending. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was a start. The money came through exactly when they promised. $95,000 total. I paid off my student loans completely. Paid off my credit cards. Put a down payment on a small condo. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't drowning in debt. Could breathe. The family therapy was hard. So hard. There were sessions where I cried for the entire hour. Sessions where I screamed. Sessions where I sat in silence because I was too angry to speak. But slowly, so slowly, things started to shift. Mom started calling me every week just to talk. Not about Marcus. About me. My job. My interests. My life. Dad sent me articles he thought I'd find interesting. Invited me to lunch. Actually listened when I talked. Marcus made more effort too. He and Jennifer invited me over for dinner. Started including me in their plans. He apologized more than once, and each time it seemed more genuine. On my 24th birthday, 11 months after the party, something unexpected happened. I woke up to a knock on my door. When I opened it, my entire family was standing there. Mom, Dad, Marcus, Jennifer, and Grandma Rose. Happy birthday, Sarah, they said together. They'd brought breakfast, my favorite bagels and coffee. They'd brought presents, thoughtful ones, things I'd actually mentioned wanting. They'd brought flowers. We spent the morning together in my new condo. Just talking, laughing, being a family. It wasn't perfect. I still had moments of anger. Moments where I remembered everything they'd done and wanted to push them away. But I also saw them trying. Really trying. That afternoon they threw me a small party. Just family and a few close friends. It was intimate, warm. Nothing like the spectacle of the year before, but in some ways more meaningful. When they sang Happy Birthday, my mom was crying. I'm so sorry we missed so many of these, she whispered. You're here now, I said. And I meant it. Later that night, after everyone had left, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine and thought about everything that had happened over the past year. Had my revenge party been worth it? Had publicly humiliating my family been the right choice? I still didn't know. The therapist said I might never know. That sometimes there are no clear right or wrong answers, just choices we make and consequences we live with. But I knew this. I wasn't invisible anymore. I had stood up for myself. I had refused to be erased. I had demanded to be seen, and I had been seen. That party had cost me over $30,000, even after the trust fund money. It had caused pain and embarrassment for my family. It had divided our community. But it had also freed me. It had forced my family to confront their behavior. It had started conversations about favoritism and family dynamics that needed to be had. And most importantly, it had taught me that I was worth celebrating. Not because my family finally acknowledged it, but because I knew it. Deep in my bones, I knew I mattered. The little girl who had waited for a zoo trip that never came, who had held a sad balloon at a baseball game, who had eaten Chinese takeout alone on her birthday. She was still inside me. But she wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen. She was heard. She was valued. And that was worth everything. It's been 2 years since my 23rd birthday party. Since the night I refused to be forgotten. My relationship with my family isn't perfect. I don't know if it ever will be. There are still moments of tension. Still times when old patterns try to resurface and I have to speak up. Still therapy sessions where we unpack decades of dysfunction. But it's better. Genuinely better. Last month Marcus and Jennifer had a baby. Little girl. They named her Rose after Grandma Rose. And they asked me to be her godmother. When Marcus called to ask me, he said something I'll never forget. I want Rose to grow up seeing her Aunt Sarah be celebrated. I want her to know that everyone in this family matters. I don't want her to ever feel invisible the way you did. I cried when he said that. Because it meant he really understood. He really saw what had happened and was committed to doing better. My parents are trying too. They remember my birthday now. They show up for my work events. They ask about my life. They've paid back every dollar they took from me with interest. Are we close? Not really. Maybe we never will be. The damage runs deep, and trust takes time to rebuild. But we're in each other's lives. We're trying. And sometimes that has to be enough. I've also found healing outside my family. I've made new friends. Started dating someone who thinks I'm amazing. Built a life that doesn't revolve around trying to be seen by people who weren't looking. The condo I bought with my trust fund money is my sanctuary. Every time I walk through the door, I remember that I fought for this. I stood up for myself. I refused to accept less than I deserved. And that 23rd birthday party, the night that changed everything, I still have mixed feelings about it. I don't regret it exactly. But I also recognize that it was a nuclear option. A last resort from someone who had tried everything else and been ignored for too long. Would I recommend that everyone with family issues throw a public confrontation party? Probably not. There are other ways to set boundaries. Other ways to demand respect. But for me, in that moment, it was what I needed to do. It was the only way I could make them see. The only way I could make them hear. And in the end, they did see. They did hear. Not everyone's story ends with reconciliation. Not everyone's family is willing to do the work. And that's okay too. Sometimes the family we choose is more important than the family we're born into. But for those of you who are struggling with being overlooked, being dismissed, being made to feel like you don't matter, hear me, you do matter. Your feelings are valid. Your experiences are real. You deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to take up space. And if the people in your life can't see that, maybe it's time to make them look. Music, powerful and triumphant. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it resonated with you. I hope it made you think about your own life, your own relationships, your own worth. If you've been overlooked or forgotten or made to feel invisible, I want you to know, you're not alone. There are so many of us who have felt this way. But we don't have to stay invisible. We can stand up. We can speak out. We can demand to be seen. Before you go, I want to ask you something. If this story moved you, if it made you feel something, if it inspired you or made you think differently about family dynamics and standing up for yourself, would you take just a moment to subscribe to Revenge Hub? We share stories like this one every week. Real people standing up to toxic family members, demanding respect, taking back their power. We're building a community of people who refuse to be pushed aside. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Let's build each other up. Let's remind each other that we all deserve to be celebrated. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for seeing me. Until next time, this is Revenge Hub reminding you, you matter. Your story matters. And you deserve to be heard. Must share your thoughts in the comment section, it's give me motivation as well, and do not forget to subscribe.